The human-alien war has turned into a massacre. There are no winners, no victors, only endless death and destruction. The four giants tower above the battlefield, their massive forms shadowing the earth beneath them. Their skin is like stone and their eyes burn with an ancient cold rage. Their technology is centuries ahead of humanity's. No weapon mankind possesses can even scratch the surface of their armored bodies. Their weapons obliterate entire squads of soldiers in seconds, leaving nothing but craters. Where men once stood, the ground trembles beneath the weight of their march as they crush everything in their path. But humanity refuses to yield, even as the battle grows more hopeless. The human resistance holds its ground. They have nowhere to retreat, no hope of winning. But they fight on. The soldiers rally together, not out of strength, but out of sheer will. They fight because they must, because it is all they know. But even their courage can only carry them so far. Each day they lose more ground to the giants, and soon they will have nothing left to defend. The war has stretched on for years. The desperation in the air is palpable. The men and women of the human army are battle-weary, exhausted from fighting an enemy they can never hope to beat. Yet they still fight. They fight for the future. They fight for their homes, for the chance that maybe, just maybe, they can find a way to end this nightmare. But every time they make progress, the giants push them back with overwhelming force. Their strategy is simple but brutal. They destroy everything they encounter and leave nothing alive. Humanity's greatest hope is a lone soldier, Sergeant Michael Crawford, a man who has earned his reputation as a warrior, whose name is whispered in hushed tones by those who fight beside him and fear him. His skills are unmatched on the battlefield. He is a living legend, someone who has survived the worst battles and come out alive when others have fallen. His courage is unrivaled. When others hesitate, Michael charges into danger without a second thought. He has faced death more times than he can count, and yet he continues to push forward without hesitation. It is said that he has stared down the four giants and lived to tell the tale, but no one truly understands how he does it, how he has managed to survive so many impossible situations. It is a mystery that no one has yet been able to solve, and it is a mystery that will soon be put to the test. In the heart of a fierce skirmish, Michael finds himself in a precarious situation, surrounded by the enemy. His team has been wiped out, and the battlefield is littered with bodies. The giants loom overhead, their massive forms casting long shadows over the wreckage of war. Michael's rifle clicks empty, and his sidearm is of little use against these monstrous foes. He knows the odds are against him. The situation is hopeless. But that has never stopped him before. He fights because it is what he does. It is what he has always done. The last of his team has fallen around him, and now he is alone facing a giant alien horde that shows no mercy. Yet in the midst of the chaos, something unexpected happens. One of the four giants steps forward from the line of attackers, its towering figure moving toward Michael with a strange grace for such a colossal creature. Its eyes lock onto Michael's as if recognizing him from the countless battles they have fought across the years. But this time something is different. This time the giant does not raise its weapon. This time the giant holds out its hand, as if offering something far more dangerous than any weapon could ever be. Michael stands frozen, his eyes locked onto the massive hand extended towards him. For a moment, he cannot comprehend what he is seeing. The chaos of the battlefield swirls around him. Explosions echo in the distance. The sound of gunfire and the cries of his fallen comrades fills the air. Yet in the middle of this madness, the foe giant stands before him, offering its hand, as if asking for peace, or perhaps something far more dangerous. Michael doesn't know what to do. His instincts scream at him to raise his weapon, to prepare for the inevitable attack. But there is something in the giant's eyes, something that makes him pause. He can see no hatred, no malice, only a deep and ancient sadness, as though this creature is not here to kill, but to communicate. Yet, how could that be possible? The four giants are known for their sheer brutality. Their entire race is a war machine born to fight and destroy. So why would one of them offer peace? Why would it make such a gesture to a mere human soldier in the midst of battle? Michael feels the weight of the decision pressing on him. One wrong move could lead to his death, or worse, yet the death of countless others. But something deep within him tells him that this moment is different. This moment is not like the others he has faced before. Michael lowers his weapon, his hands shaking as he steps forward. The space between him and the giant seems to stretch for eternity. The air is thick with tension, every muscle in his body screams for him to act, to run, to fight, but he steps forward one foot after the other, as if guided by something unseen. As he approaches the giant, he can see its features in greater detail. Its skin is rough and textured like stone, but there is a softness in its eyes, a wariness that mirrors his own. The giant's massive hand hovers just above the ground, a few inches from Michael's own outstretched hand. Michael takes a deep breath and reaches up slowly, hesitantly, and in that moment time seems to slow as his fingers make contact with the giant's massive palm. The sensation is unlike anything he has ever felt before. It is as though his very soul is being pulled into the creature's mind. He feels a surge of energy flood through him, and for a brief moment he is not himself. He is not a human soldier on a war-torn battlefield. He is something far greater, something connected to the giant in a way that defies explanation. Michael stumbles back, his heart racing. As the bond takes root, the sensation is overwhelming. Images of strange worlds, alien landscapes, and battles fought long before his time flash through his mind. It is as if he is seeing the entire history of the four people. All at once, the giants were not always warriors. They were once a peaceful race living on a world untouched by war and destruction. But their peace was shattered when an empire of ruthless conquerors descended upon their home planet and enslaved them. The four giants were transformed into weapons, their minds bent to the will of their oppressors and forced to fight in endless wars for the empire's gain. Michael feels the giant's sorrow, the weight of its past, the pain of a race stripped of its identity and its freedom. The bond between them grows stronger, and Michael feels as if he can hear the giant's voice in his mind, not in words, but in emotions and feelings of loss and longing. He understands now the true nature of the creature before him. It is not an enemy, it is a prisoner, a victim of forces far beyond its control. And in that moment, everything changes. Michael's understanding of the war, the giants, the enemy, the battle, all of it shifts as he feels the shared pain of the full giant coursing through him. He realizes that he is no longer just a soldier on the battlefield. He is something more. He is the key to a future where humans and giants could stand together as allies, not enemies. Michael's mind races as the bond deepens. The flood of emotions continues to surge through him, threatening to overwhelm him. But he forces himself to focus on the connection. He can feel the giant's sorrow, its regret, its longing for freedom. The weight of its past weighs heavily on Michael's chest. He is no longer just a soldier facing an alien enemy. He is now linked to something far greater, something that transcends the battle. They are fighting. The giant's mind is a labyrinth of memories and experiences stretching back centuries. He can see visions of their homeworld, once a place of peace and beauty, where the foe lived in harmony with nature and each other. But that peaceful existence was shattered when the Empire arrived with its fleets and its soldiers. The foe were forced into submission, their minds twisted and controlled by the alien conquerors. They were turned into instruments of war, weapons, with no will of their own, nothing more than tools to be used in the Empire's expansion. Michael feels the giant's rage rise up like a storm trapped within the prison of its own mind. But it is not just rage. Michael also feels its deep sadness, a profound sense of loss for a time and a world that is now gone forever. The giant had no choice but to fight. It had no choice but to obey the orders of its masters. And yet now, in this moment, in the midst of war, it has found something different. It has found a human soldier willing to listen, willing to understand, willing to offer something other than death and destruction. Michael's thoughts race as the implications of this realization settle in. If the giants are not enemies, if they are victims of their own circumstances, then everything he has been fighting for all these years is based on a lie that the foe are monsters bent on destroying humanity, when in reality they are nothing more than pawns in a much larger game. Michael begins to question everything he thought he knew about the war, about the Empire, about the foe, and about himself. He can feel the weight of the decision before him. It is not enough to simply fight against the giants. If they are victims too, then they are not the true enemy. The Empire that controls them is the true enemy, the real threat to both humanity and the Thor alike. But how can he convince his fellow soldiers that the giants are not their enemies? How can he convince them to look past the bloodshed and see the truth? He knows the answer is not simple. It will take more than just words. It will take action. It will take courage. And it will take a willingness to stand up against the very forces that have driven humanity to this point. Michael knows the risks are great. If he reveals the truth about the giants to his comrades, many will see him as a traitor. They will not understand. They will see only the alien enemy, the same enemy that has been terrorizing them for years. But Michael also knows that this is a turning point in the war, the moment when everything can change. But only if they are willing to see the giants as more than just enemies. He feels the bond between him and the giant grows stronger as the creature's mind brushes against his own. Michael can feel the giant's thoughts, the fragment of hope that flickers within it, the hope that maybe, just maybe, it could be free again. Maybe it could fight for something other than destruction. The realization hits him like a hammer. He is no longer alone in this fight. It is not just humanity against the foe. It is a battle against the empire that enslaved both of them. He knows the war is far from over. But now he has a new understanding, a new sense of purpose. He is no longer fighting to destroy the giants. He is fighting to free them, fighting to break the chains that have bound them for centuries. And with this newfound resolve, he turns his eyes toward the battlefield ahead, knowing that the true battle is only just beginning. Michael stands there, his hand still resting on the giant's massive palm, the weight of the bond between them now a heavy presence in his mind. The world around him continues to rage. The battlefield still erupts in chaos. But in this moment, nothing matters except the quiet understanding between him and the creature before him. The bond has shown him the truth, and it is a truth that shakes him to his core. He has seen the horrors the giants have endured, seen their entire history unfold before him. And he knows now that their fight is not one of conquest, but one of survival. Their oppressors have used them as weapons for far too long. And now they are slaves to an empire that values nothing but dominance and control. Michael knows that he cannot simply turn away from what he has learned. He cannot ignore the pain of the giants or the betrayal of his own people who have been manipulated into seeing them as enemies. He feels the weight of this knowledge pressed down on him like 1,000 tons of stone. He knows that he is the only one who can make the change happen. He is the only one who can bring the truth to light, and in doing so perhaps change the course of the war once and for all. But how can he do it? How can he convince his fellow soldiers that the giants are not the enemy? How can he make them understand that they are victims, just like humanity is trapped in a war they never chose? He knows it will not be easy. The propaganda has painted the giants as ruthless invaders, a threat to humanity that must be destroyed, and to many soldiers, that is all they know, that is all they have been taught for years. But Michael knows that the only way to end the war is to break the cycle of hatred, to break the false narrative that has been created around the giants. It is a task that seems impossible, a task that would require the trust and cooperation of soldiers who have been taught to fear and hate the giants. For as long as they can remember, he takes a deep breath and looks up at the giant, its eyes locked onto his with an intensity that goes beyond mere recognition. Michael feels the weight of the decision ahead of him. He knows he cannot do this alone, but he also knows that he cannot turn back now. He has seen the truth, and it is a truth he must share with the world. He must find a way to convince his comrades to join him in this new battle, the battle for freedom, the battle to free the foe from their chains, and to end the cycle of violence that has defined their existence. He steps back from the giant, his heart pounding in his chest as the weight of the bond continues to settle within him. He looks around at the battlefield, the soldiers still locked in combat, unaware of the revelation that has just unfolded before him. It is up to him now to make them see the truth, to make them understand that the giants are not the enemy, but rather a part of the solution, a key to ending the war and bringing peace to both humanity and the foe alike. He knows that there will be resistance, that there will be those who will not believe him, who will see him as a traitor. But he also knows that there are those who will listen, those who will see the truth for what it is, and together they will fight not to destroy, but to liberate. He turns and begins to walk back towards his fellow soldiers, his mind racing with thoughts of how to explain what he has learned, how to make them understand that the real battle is not against the foe, but against the empire that has manipulated them all. It is a fight that will not be won with guns and bombs, But with unity and understanding, the war has reached its turning point, and Michael knows that the future of both humanity and the foe rests on his shoulders. Michael walks toward his fellow soldiers, his heart heavy with the weight of his decision. The bond with the giant still pulses in his mind, its thoughts swirling around his own like a constant presence. He knows what he must do, but the task ahead seems insurmountable. How could he convince his comrades to believe in a truth so radically different from everything they have been taught for so long? The soldiers around him are still fighting. They are entrenched in the conflict, their weapons raised as they battle against the foe giants who continue to charge forward relentlessly, their steps shaking the earth beneath them. But to Michael, these giants are no longer just enemies. They are not the ruthless invaders they have been painted to be. They are victims. Just like the humans, they are pawns in a far greater game. And Michael knows that he cannot let this battle continue, as it has. The world has been manipulated by lies and propaganda, and it is time for the truth to break free. He steps into the line of fire, his voice loud enough to carry over the din of the battle. He orders the soldiers to cease fire, and though some hesitate, most obey reluctantly, their weapons lowering. As Michael stands before them, he takes a deep breath and turns to face them. Their faces are filled with confusion, fear, and anger. They do not understand, they cannot understand. But Michael knows he must make them listen. He looks out at the soldiers who have been his brothers and sisters in arms for years, their eyes filled with the same resolve he once had to fight to destroy the enemy, to win at all costs. But now he knows the truth, and he knows that this battle is not the one they should be fighting. They must fight together against the real enemy, the empire that controls them all. He raises his voice louder now, demanding their attention. Soldiers, you don't know the truth of what you're fighting against. You think these giants are monsters, but they are not. They are slaves. And I've seen it, I've felt it in their minds. They have been forced into this war, just like we have been manipulated by a greater power, by the empire that rules them, just like it rules us. Their pain is our pain, and their fight is our fight. Michael's words hang in the air like a challenge. The soldiers around him shift uncomfortably. Some scoff and shake their heads. Others glance at each other with doubt in their eyes. They have been taught for so long to fear and destroy the foe. They cannot comprehend what Michael is saying. But he will not back down. He knows the road ahead will not be easy. He knows that to convince them to fight for something greater than their own survival will take everything he has and more. But Michael is not afraid, because he knows the truth, and he is willing to risk everything to make them see it. The tension on the battlefield grows as Michael stands there facing his comrades, the sound of distant explosions rattling through the air. The foe giants pause their assault, watching the humans below them, some of them shifting uneasily, as if sensing the change in the air. Michael feels the giant's presence behind him, their bond still strong, and he draws strength from it. He knows that the giants are not his enemies, they are his allies. They are the ones who need liberation, just as much as humanity does. And as the soldiers stare at him, some with confusion, others with suspicion, Michael presses on. Soldiers, I know this is hard to understand, but we can't win this war through bloodshed alone. We have to join forces with the foe if we want to defeat the real enemy, the empire that controls them. We can't keep fighting for a war that's already been decided for us. We have to make our own choice. Michael's voice echoes in the silence that follows. The soldiers stand still in disbelief. Some take a step forward, others take a step back, but all of them are thinking. He can feel their doubt, but he can also feel a flicker of hope, a small spark that perhaps they can see the truth he has shared with them. He looks toward the foe giants, who watch from the distance, their massive forms standing still, their eyes locked onto him, as if waiting for him to lead the way. Michael stands firm, his eyes scanning the faces of his fellow soldiers. He can feel the uncertainty in the air like a weight pressing down on him. It is almost suffocating. The silence stretches for what feels like an eternity, as they all try to process the impossible idea he has just presented to them, the idea that they should no longer see the giants as their enemies, but as victims of a greater evil, the empire that has controlled both their worlds for far too long. Michael knows that many of them still cannot accept this truth. Their minds are clouded by years of hatred and fear. The propaganda that has painted the foe as monstrous invaders is too deeply ingrained in them. But even so, Michael can feel the flicker of something else beneath the surface, a spark of doubt, a willingness to listen as the seconds tick by. The tension begins to break in small ways. One soldier slowly lowers their weapon, another steps forward tentatively, looking at Michael, as if searching for something in his eyes. Michael holds their gaze. And when one of them speaks, the words come out more as a question than a statement. "Sarge, what do you think we're supposed to do? If we stop fighting the giants, what happens to us?" The question is filled with genuine concern, and it echoes the uncertainty that Michael feels in his own heart. He knows that if they stop fighting, they risk everything they have fought for: their homes, their families, their very survival. Everything has been defined by this war, so much so that the thought of stopping feels impossible. But Michael knows the answer to the soldier's question. It is a question that he has asked himself countless times in the hours since the bond with the giant first took root. If they stop fighting, if they refuse to follow the false narrative that has been placed before them, they will be risking more than just their lives. They will be risking the future of humanity. And the Thor alike, he speaks carefully, but with conviction. We fight, not just for survival, but for something greater than that. We fight for the chance to create something better, something that doesn't rely on killing or destroying what we don't understand. We fight to free both our people and the foe. We fight to free the galaxy from the empire that controls us all. We don't have to be pawns in their game anymore. Michael's voice carries across the battlefield with strength and certainty. And for the first time since the war began, he sees something in the eyes of the soldiers, something that he hasn't seen in years. Hope. It is small at first, but it is there, and it spreads slowly like a ripple across a still pond. One soldier after another begins to lower their weapons. Some glance at the Thor with suspicion, but others with something else, with understanding. It is as if they are beginning to see the giants not as monsters, but as something more, something that they could connect with, something human. Michael feels a surge of hope himself, but he knows this is only the beginning. The soldiers are not yet ready to stand with the Thor fully, and he knows that the battle is far from over. But this moment, this small shift in perspective, is enough to keep him going. He turns toward the four giants who have been standing silently, waiting for this moment, waiting for the humans to see them, not as enemies, but as potential allies. And in that moment, Michael knows he has made the right choice. He has planted the seed of change, and now he must nurture it. No matter how difficult the road ahead will be, the soldiers are still hesitant, but Michael knows that as long as they are willing to listen, there is hope for them. Yet he knows that together the humans and the Thor can change the course of the war. They can defeat the empire that has kept them divided for so long, and they can build something new, something that is not defined by hatred and violence. Michael looks at the soldiers once more, and he sees the fear in their eyes. But he also sees a flicker of something else, a willingness to follow him, a willingness to fight for something greater than themselves. The silence on the battlefield stretches out longer than Michael expected. He can feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him, like the anticipation before a storm. His fellow soldiers are still uncertain, but there is a shift happening slowly, but surely. They are starting to understand. They are beginning to realize that the true enemy has never been the giants, but the empire that has manipulated them all for centuries. The soldiers look at each other, exchanging glances, some still hesitant, others with a newfound resolve. The moment is fragile, but Michael knows that this is the moment where everything could change. He has already made his choice. He has already taken the first step toward a future that could unite humanity and the Thor together in a common cause. But he needs them to follow him. He needs them to understand that this fight is not about defeating the Thor, but about freeing both their peoples from the control of the empire. It's a long shot, Michael knows that, but he also knows that they have nothing left to lose. The war has already taken so much from them: their friends, their families, their homes, all torn apart by the endless cycle of violence and hatred. And if they continue down this path, they will have nothing left to fight for. Michael turns to face the four giants behind him. They stand tall like silent sentinels, their eyes watching him, waiting for some sign of progress. He can feel their hope rising too. They have been waiting for this moment for so long, waiting for someone to see them, not as enemies, but as allies. Their bond with Michael is deep and unspoken, and he knows that together they can achieve something that has never been done before. They can fight back against the empire that has enslaved them all. Michael looks back at the soldiers and speaks again, his voice steady. but filled with urgency. We have to act now. If we wait too long, the Empire will crush us, or they won't hesitate to destroy everything we have built, everything we stand for, and will be nothing but slaves in their eyes. We can't let that happen." Michael's words seem to stir something in the soldiers, their doubt beginning to fade away. One by one, they start to step forward, slowly at first, and then with greater confidence they lower their weapons completely. Some of them exchange looks with the foe, who stand at the ready, awaiting the signal to advance. In that moment, something shifts. The air around them seems to vibrate with the weight of what they are about to do. They are no longer enemies, standing on opposite sides of a battlefield. They are allies, standing together against the true enemy, the Empire. Michael feels a surge of energy flood through him, the weight of leadership settling over him like a mantle. This is his moment. He knows he cannot waste it. The soldiers begin to move with purpose, their steps more confident now as they fall in line behind him. Michael leads them forward toward the four giants. And as they move closer, the giants step aside, allowing them to pass. They are not just standing in their way, they are standing beside them. Michael feels a sense of relief wash over him. But he knows this is just the beginning. The real battle is yet to come. They still have to face the Empire and the forces that will stop at nothing to keep their control over the galaxy. But now they are united. They are no longer divided by hatred or fear. They are fighting for freedom, fighting for the future of both their people and the foe. As they march forward, Michael knows that this moment will be remembered forever. It will be a turning point in the war, a moment where humanity and the foe put aside their differences and chose to fight for something greater than themselves. The path ahead is uncertain and full of danger, but Michael feels a sense of purpose he has never felt before. They are no longer just soldiers in a war, they are revolutionaries, fighting to change the course of history. And they are not alone, they have each other, and together they will take down the Empire and build a new future. The march toward the Empire's stronghold is long and arduous, but Michael feels a fire inside him that keeps him moving forward. The soldiers and the foe march side by side, now no longer divided by hatred, no longer trapped in the lies of the Empire. They are united in their cause. The journey is not without its challenges. They are hunted every step of the way. The Empire's forces are vast and well-equipped. They have the advantage in numbers and technology. But Michael knows that they have something more powerful than weapons. They have the truth. They have the knowledge that the real enemy is not the foe, but the Empire that has been pulling the strings. From the shadows, the soldiers face challenges with renewed determination. They fight not just for survival, but for something greater than themselves. They fight for freedom, for the future of both humanity and the foe. It is a battle not just of strength, but of will. The giants move with them now, not as weapons of war, but as comrades. Their immense size and strength a valuable asset to the cause. The bond between Michael and the giant grows stronger with each passing day. They are linked in mind and spirit, and Michael feels the weight of their shared mission each moment. But he also feels the power of the bond. It gives him strength. When he feels the weight of the world pressing down on him, it gives him clarity. When the path ahead seems uncertain, it is a connection that transcends race and species, a bond forged in the heat of battle, and in the understanding that they are all fighting for something greater than themselves. Michael knows that they are drawing closer to the Empire's stronghold. They can see the imposing structure on the horizon. It looms over the land like a dark shadow, a symbol of everything they have been fighting against. But even as they near their destination, Michael knows that they are not yet ready for what lies ahead. The Empire's forces are waiting for them. They know they are coming, and they will stop at nothing to crush the rebellion before it has a chance to succeed. Michael's heart races as they draw closer to the gates of the stronghold. He knows that this is it, the final confrontation between those who fight for freedom and those who wish to keep the galaxy enslaved. The soldiers and the foe are ready. They are no longer divided. They stand together, united in their purpose. But Michael also knows that this fight will not be easy. It will test everything they have and more. It will test their courage, their resolve, their very humanity. The Empire has a vast network of soldiers and machines at its disposal, and they will not go down without a fight. Michael knows that they cannot face this battle alone. They will need every ally they can find. If they are to succeed, they will need the support of the oppressed worlds of the galaxy, the countless beings who have suffered under the Empire's rule. They will need to rally those who have been crushed beneath the boot of the Empire's tyranny. and show them that they do not have to live in fear anymore. Michael feels the bond with the giant grow stronger than ever before. The giant's emotions flood into him, its fear, and its hope, its longing for freedom, and its determination to fight alongside him. The giant has never known true freedom, but now it has a chance to be free, and it is willing to fight for it. Michael knows that this battle is not just about winning, it is about liberating both humanity and the Thor from the chains that have bound them for so long. It is about sending a message to the Empire that they will no longer be controlled. They will no longer be slaves to a system that only values power and control. The battle rages around them, but Michael keeps his focus, his mind sharp, his heart filled with the fire of rebellion. They are no longer just soldiers, they are revolutionaries. They are the spark that will ignite the fire of change across the galaxy. The fight is not over yet, but Michael knows that no matter the outcome this moment, this fight will change everything. The gates of the Empire's stronghold loom before them like a wall of steel and stone, the final barrier between them and the chance to end the war. Michael feels the weight of the moment pressing down on him. This is at the culmination of everything they fought for, everything they sacrificed as soldiers, and the foe stand together on the edge of history, and they know that what happens next will determine the future of both their peoples. They have come this far together, and now they will face the Empire's full might, united in a cause greater than any of them. Michael can see the Empire's forces waiting behind the gates. They know they are coming, and they will not go down without a fight. Michael's heart beats faster as the first explosions go off in the distance. The ground trembles beneath their feet as the battle begins. The air is thick with the sounds of combat, the cries of soldiers, the roar of engines, and the clash of weapons. But Michael stands firm at the front of the line, his resolve unshaken. He knows what they are fighting for, and he knows that they will not be denied. The Empire has relied on fear and oppression for too long, but now it is the Empire's turn to fear. As the soldiers and the foe push forward, they are unstoppable. They are no longer divided by hatred or fear. They are bound by a common purpose. The fight is fierce. The Empire's soldiers are well-trained and well-equipped, but the soldiers and the foe are driven by something greater than fear. They are driven by the knowledge that this is their chance to change everything. As the battle rages on, Michael feels the presence of the giant beside him, the bond between them stronger than ever before. The giant fights with a fury Michael has never seen before. It is a force of nature, its massive form charging through the enemy lines with unmatched strength and power. Michael moves with purpose, his mind clear, his heart focused on the task ahead. They must reach the heart of the Empire's stronghold. They must strike at the core of the enemy's power and take it down once and for all. The battle continues to rage around them as they press forward, pushing through the enemy lines with a strength and determination that can't be stopped. But even as they advance, Michael knows that they are not out of danger yet. The Empire has many secrets and many weapons, and they will not go down without a fight. But Michael also knows that this is their chance, this is their moment to change the course of history. They are no longer just soldiers, they are revolutionaries. They are the ones who will bring an end to the Empire's reign and forge a new future for both humanity and the foe. The ground shakes again as the gates of the stronghold begin to crumble beneath their assault. They are close now, closer than they've ever been. The Empire's defenses are weakening, but the fight is not over yet. Michael can see the fear in the eyes of the enemy soldiers as they realize that they have underestimated the strength of this united front. The soldiers and the foe are relentless, they are unstoppable, and the Empire's forces cannot hold them back for long. The moment of truth arrives as Michael reaches the heart of the stronghold. He stands before the heart of the Empire's power, the central command center, the place where the entire war has been orchestrated and controlled, the place where all the lies and manipulation have originated. And in that moment, Michael knows what must be done. He raises his hand, signaling to the soldiers and the foe to hold their ground. As he steps forward, he knows that this is the moment when everything changes. He knows that this is the moment when they will finally strike at the heart of the Empire and bring an end to its reign forever. He steps forward with purpose, his eyes filled with determination, and as he presses the button that will initiate the final phase of their mission, the world seems to slow down around him. He knows that no matter what happens next, they have already won, they have already changed the course of history, and the galaxy will never be the same.